Hey guys, my review for today is Cabin Fever Patient Zero. Um, Now, before I really get into this one, I want to talk for just a couple minutes about the original Cabin Fever. It came out in 2002, and that was a movie that I actually didn't see until probably just a couple of years ago. Um, I loved it. I loved this. I loved that movie. I thought it was great. I'm a big fan of Eli Roth when it comes to horror movies and gore in particular. In my opinion, he's one of the best because while he's very good at gore, I mean, just look at the Hostel movies. If you Hostel 1 and 2 to really see an example of that. Um, More than that, his movies are very, very tight. His movies are never overly long. The Hostel movies were like an hour and a half each. The original Cabin Fever, it wasn't terribly long either. His movie, he creates a tightly paced storyline. There's no excess, and he is able to do a decent amount of character development in a short amount of time. That's one of the things that he is really good at, and it works for a gory type horror movie. It works because you don't want to get oversaturated with the blood. You need some sort of character development, and I think that's why his movies work so well. Um, and that's what made the original Cabin Fever work. There was gore, there was an interesting storyline, it was tightly paced, it was fast paced, there was no excess, and you got just enough character development to really get going. Plus, the acting is usually solid in his movies. This one, now, Eli Roth did not direct this. I mean, I'm sure he had something in it. Actually, his name isn't even on here at all, and you can tell that he didn't. Now, that's not to say this wasn't a bad movie. I actually liked it a lot, but there were some issues with it, and a lot of it was due to pacing. The gore was very good, but it was a movie that wasn't quite as tight as it could have been. It was a little bit sprawling. It took a while to really get going with everything, which is okay. It's okay to have a slow build towards something, but it wasn't the slow build that they were going for to build up to the main story. Wasn't as interesting as it could have been. The characters weren't. Honestly, the characters just weren't very likable, with the exception of one, the girl who plays Penny. Actually, pause for a sec. With the exception of Gillian Murray, who plays Penny, she actually did a pretty good job. She's the first person infected, stuff like that. But I liked her character. She didn't have a whole lot of character development, but she was a bit of a scene stealer. And I don't know, there was some quality about her that when she was in the scene that made you pay attention. And no, I'm not just talking about her pretty face and the boobs. I mean something more than that. Although that doesn't hurt. Here's one of the main issues that I had with this movie. The lead actor, I just didn't feel he did a very good job. He's not leading man material. He couldn't carry the movie, and he was supposed to. The original Cabin Fever had Ryder Strong, who is fantastic, carrying the movie. That's because he is a person that can carry a movie. This one had a guy, the main guy's name is Mitch Ryan, who I don't know. He just didn't have it. He just didn't have enough to carry the movie. He was so bland, and I don't just mean his character, although his character was written very bland too. He was supposed to try to have some sort of depth about him, but it just did not work in my opinion. The actor, he was very stiff. That's all I can say. But there were two saving graces about this movie. And the first one is Curry Graham, who plays the doctor, who plays the main doctor. This is a guy that has been in so much stuff. He's one of those guys that when you see him on screen, you know him from somewhere, you can't necessarily place it. I mean, he's been in shows after shows. He was in House of Lies. He's been in an episode of a lot of different shows. He was in the remake of Total Recall. Trying to find, I'm sorry, I'm flipping through IMDb because there's something big that I know him from. Oh, actually, that was it. He was in an episode of Criminal Minds. That's weird that that's the one thing that's really, that I really, but he's been in just a ton of stuff. He's one of those guys that shows up a lot in TV, shows up in random episodes of TV shows. He usually plays a guy that's unlikable. His characters are always just completely unlikable, but at the same time, you're intrigued by whatever he's playing, by the character that he's playing, because he's just that good. You know, he's very good at what he does. But the main saving grace of this movie, and the main reason why I would tell you to watch it, is Sean Astin. Sean Astin is in this, and he is so good in it. He's so amazing, especially for somebody who does not have a lot of lines. He has, he talks a decent amount in the beginning, then he gets really quiet. And like the last half of the movie, he has like maybe 3 lines for the whole last half. But he carries this movie. He's not the leading man, he's not the main character, he's not the leading character of the movie. Well, he's kind of the main character because he is patient zero. But he carries the movie. And one of the big things that I was really curious about is how this was going to tie into the original Cabin Fever. And it actually makes sense at the end. There's a lot of things at the end of the movie that you see that you're like, okay, that's how this is all tying together. That's how it gets there. I get it. I kind of understand now. There's some small, very subtle throwbacks to the original movies. Well, I guess they would be throw forwards to the original movie that tie a lot of things together. There's one scene in this movie that I have to talk about because A, it was just an absolutely ridiculous scene, and B, it was an absolutely ridiculous scene that didn't need to be in the movie. It was literally a fight between 2 girls who were infected. This was a cat fight, but you didn't get to see any skin or anything. And they were literally ripping the skin off each other. And I know that this was it was another gore moment. Like, this is a gory movie. Alright? That's what these movies are supposed to be. And they just wanted another opportunity to throw a whole bunch more gore in. So they decided to have 2 half-naked girls who were terribly infected and were literally had like maybe 50% of their flesh, because this is a flesh-eating virus, decide to fight each other. It was unnecessary. We did not need it. It was just 4 minutes of this movie, 4 or 5 minutes of this movie they could have cut out. And that, again, was one of the main problems with this movie, is that it felt too long. Even though it really wasn't very long, it felt too long. And like I said, the lead just didn't have it. But discounting all that, I would recommend watching it, at least a rental. or find it on Netflix or Hulu or whatever, I would recommend watching it simply to see Sean Astin in this movie, because again, he is great. He's a guy that always brings quality to any movie that he's in. So check it out. Not bad. Doesn't hold up to the original at all, though. So see you next time. Bye.